And I wanted to say welcome everyone for joining. It's about a minute before 1, so we're going to get started. And I want to show you what we're going to paint today. If you haven't signed up for my class and spent your $10 to buy my class, you can still watch it live, but this is the only time you'll get to watch it. So unless you want the videos, and I'll be glad to send those to you for a $10 fee later. Anyway, to be fair to those who have purchased the class, I can't let everybody have access to it the same way. So with that said, here is what we're going to do today. I call it Glacier Lake, and it's a nice scene out of Montana area, and it has a bit of a glacier there, and I don't know if there's such a place as Glacier Lake. Actually, I just called this Glacier Lake because it looked like there was a large glacier sitting up here, and it was melting and running down into this nice lake here. So I will show you my sketch in a moment and show you my value map, and we'll get started painting this thing. So there's the value map I made, and if I had some time I might try to do this maybe in the next class. I will actually take the beginning of the class and take the photograph we're working from and show you how I use Photoshop to actually create this value map. And it's not very complicated, but it does take a little bit of understanding of how Photoshop works and how to paint these different areas in these different colors to get sort of a nice looking value system. So I will try to use that. I have a photograph of this above my easel. As you will notice when we start painting, I always have a photo like this above my easel. And I have the original photo as well to work from. So we'll change some of the colors. I got a strong indication the sun is coming from the right of this picture because I see shadows in the snow. I see shadows in the mountains. I see a lot of different values here that we can work on. We can even highlight an area back here and make it not just all green. We'll put some colors in there to make it stand out a little bit and give you the idea of the depth and the color being lit by the sun. And so with the value map being made, then the next thing you have to do, if you haven't done it already, those of you who have purchased the class have received an email with this particular document in it, and you will have the grid. It's a 5x4 grid, and it can fit very nicely on 11x14 canvas. Each of these squares are about 2 3/4 inches, so you can make yourself a template to draw lines with and make this grid, and then just transfer that to your canvas freehand, or you can actually put it on the canvas with some white transfer paper, which I'll show you in a minute. I started my sketch already. I'm going to finish it when I go over to the easel. Also, this is the sketch that I made from it originally, so it is basically same photograph, except I've taken out all the extraneous images and you just see the outline sketch, sort of like contour sketch of everything. So that is one of the documents that you get by ordering the class before class. And so in the meantime, I'll leave this up, and if you are painting along with me and want to try to sketch very quickly, I'll give you a few minutes to sketch this, and we can get going here with the painting. I want to go up and finish my sketch, so I'll be showing you that as well. And you can be following along with me and finish your sketch. I don't have too much to do on my sketch yet, but we will get going on it here. Let's see, I want to show you my easel, and this is my standard setup, as you know, and I have my photograph on the top left and I have my value map on the top right. I have my sketch started on my 11x14 canvas, and I have my paints loaded onto my palette there below, and as usual they're running down the glass surface have my palette. But that's all right. I will work with that. I try to deal with that every time I do an oil painting with this glass palette. But I like to be able to show you the palette separately and be able to overlay it over the image so you can see what colors I'm picking up while I'm painting. Okay, so I think that's all I wanted to tell you here. We will probably take a break for maybe 15 minutes. I'll go for about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes or so. We'll take a 10 or 15 minute break. If you can see that now, you'll see that I have a camera. I actually record this on my camera as well as record it on disc, so I have an extra file. So that first introductory part didn't get recorded on this particular camera. But I'm recording on this camera. I have a palette camera that I will overlay and move it around as I paint. So you can see the paints that I have here already put on my palette, and I have my sketch up here that I'm going to finish for you. Okay, I'm going to zoom in now with my camera controls here, and we will get started on the rest of the sketch. Then I will go over the paints with you, and I'm going to zoom this in probably a little closer than I will when I paint, because I want you to see this. I'm using a red pen. It's just a basic Blick pen. I bought these at Staples. It's called a comfort stick. It's got a nice little soft edge on it, but I have to make sure that the ink continues to run down, so I have to sort of sketch with a high angle on it here. So I'm going to finish up my sort of my middle ground here. This is a set of trees and stuff that's below the mountain in the photo, and then we have the back in here. This is the lake right here. I'm trying to make this not a straight edge across there. I want it to have some movement in it so that the eye doesn't just run across there, run off the page very quickly. Abstract shapes. And down here I have some more trees and bushes and some things I'm going to stick in here to sort of fill this area in, and we will paint those in at sort of as the last. These are kind of in the foreground. Let me see here if I'm going to check very quickly on my side computer here, my computer by my easel, and see if I'm getting any comments. Someone asks how do we join the class? Basically by watching live. Now you're going to see the class, but if you want to have access to see the class after it's over and watch it at your leisure, go to my website, either one of my websites. The one that I'm starting to use more and more is called artcreatorstv.com, and on there's a link that says register for classes and workshops. You can go out there and click on that link, and it will take you to a page that kind of explains the classes and explains the costs, and there's a place for a shopping cart there. You can go out and use PayPal to buy one class, buy two classes, buy all 9 classes. I have 9 classes scheduled for 2016, and so you can buy as many of those classes as you want, and the ones that you can make. And if you can't make the class, you can still buy the class and have access to the video after the class, and I will send you a private link to download the finished edited video when I get finished. It may take me a couple days to finish editing it, but I will be sending that to you if you sign up. So you can watch it now and see if you like it. If you like the painting and want to buy it, want to join, just go out there to my website and do it. My other website is my name, LarryHamilton.com/art, and there's a link on there to buy classes and workshops, and it takes you to the same place. So anyway, I think that's what I want to show you. I want to go over the paints. They're my standard paints that I use with all of these paintings, and they're Bob Ross paints, and I have titanium white, I have phthalo blue, Prussian blue, midnight black, Van Dyke brown, dark sienna, alizarin crimson, sap green, cad yellow, yellow ochre, Indian yellow, and bright red, and I have a ultramarine violet over here from Grumbacher. So that's the standard set of paints that I use in most all of my paintings, and have plenty there to make about any color I want. And so I will be telling you which paints I'm picking up as we paint here today. One thing I have to do now is remove this my sketch paper. This is tracing paper that I use, and so I basically just tape it over another type of paper, which is a transfer paper, and it's, so I have my sketch here, and I use a red ink pen so that I know where I have sketched and what I have finished and what I haven't finished. Underneath that I have Saral, S-A-R-A-L, transfer paper, and it comes in boxes like this, and you can get it in different colors. I get it in white because I have a gray tone canvas, and the white transfer paper makes it show up on the gray canvas. And see if I can get this off. I'm going to step in front of the camera here. Okay, so when I take it off, you see it has a white backing on it, and that's basically what comes off on the canvas and what makes the sketch for us to use during our painting process. So I think I'm about ready to go here. Put that over there, and let's see, I want to overlay now my palette on my canvas here in a lower right corner, and as you see that, it should be out of the way of where we're going to start painting. The brushes, I will overlay on here the brushes that we're using, but basically I have a basic set of Bob Ross brushes. I have a 1-inch landscape brush, I have a number 3 fan, I have the script liner that Bob Ross sells. It's a number 2 script liner. I've added a couple brushes from Dick Blick. One is a number 10 filbert. I have a number, it's really a 1/2-inch golden Taklon watercolor brush that I use to get some sharp edges, particularly when I'm doing architectural work. A sharp edge brush is very good. I also have a flat brush or two that I use, a number 12 bristle bright from Dick Blick as well. So that combination of brushes. I have some other brushes from Treckle which are considerably more expensive, and I don't require that you buy those, but if I need to, sometime I may start using those as we go along here, because I think they have a little bit of bristles in them, or it's actually synthetic mongoose hair, I believe, is what's in those Treckle brushes. So they look like this. There's a number 10, number 12. I have a filbert and a flat, and so if I use one, you'll know it because they're a different color. They sort of have a varnished surface. All right, so I got my sketch. See the grid overlaying that, and I think we're ready to go with the paints. So one of the things I always use is something called Bob Ross's liquid white, and I usually put that on sparingly. Bob Ross, if you've ever watched any of his videos, you know that he covers the whole thing with liquid white, and when you do that, you really can't have a sketch that you work from. You just sort of have to work from memory. So I don't tend to do that because I like to have a little more accuracy in some of my shapes and some of my values, some of my abstract shapes. So in the sky area, because I want it to sort of blend nicely, I will use my 1-inch brush here and my liquid white. I have it on a paper plate basically with some Winsor Newton Liquin. So I've told you before, the liquid white actually helps the paint dry slower. So when you put liquid white on here, it will take sometimes a couple weeks before the paint is really fully dry, if you want to put another layer on, another coat or something. But so I use that sparingly. I don't follow the Bob Ross method on that, other than I use the paint that he invented. He was trying to get his videos done in 26 minutes. So he kind of invented or copied other artists that used some sort of a slow drying medium, and he decided to mix titanium white and some linseed oil, I believe, into a mixture and made it, he called it liquid white. That's basically what it is. I'm going to have a little bit of, put a little bit of liquid white down here so I know where the water is. I know I'm going to want to be able to move my brush around very nicely in this water, so I'm going to just pop in a little bit of liquid white down here to remind me of where the water is going to be in this painting. If you've followed me for very long, you know that many of my paintings have water in them, and it's just something I like to put in paintings. I think it gives some very nice effects. Okay, something like this. All right. So that's the application of liquid white. The other medium I have on my paper plate here, I said it was Winsor Newton Liquin, Liquin, and it's a product that actually speeds up the drying time. It will dry faster. So if you have an occasion to need your paint to dry faster, you can use something like Liquin. If you want it to dry slower, you can add something like liquid white. So hopefully I'm going to make sure I got enough of this. I painted one of my paintings and cut the top off the other day when I did it, and I got a request from one of my subscribers to cut that out. Make sure you see the top. So I'm pulling back my camera. I have my camera controls here, and I can manage that from my console here in front. So, all right, so that's our liquid white step. Now we're going to start with the sky, and I have not washed out this brush. I have a lot of liquid white paint in here, so most of the time I usually just go right into a blue and pick up a little bit of this phthalo blue. Phthalo blue and Prussian blue are both very, very potent colors. By potent, I mean you put a little bit on there and they'll just start eating up your paint. They'll just cover everything. I don't have enough in there to eat anything up yet. Let me get some more here. All right. All right, let's see what that does. All right, we'll start putting a little bit there, and see the liquid white that's on there helps that blend and move around. Try a little bit of this other blue here. It's got a little more purple in it. We have two blues. The Prussian blue has a little more of a purple cast, and the phthalo blue tends to have a little bit of a, it's hard to tell it. There's some green in there, but there is. I like to add a little bit of alizarin. So I'm just, haven't cleaned this brush, I'm just touching the ends of this brush into another color. And I'll start moving it down here. As I mix this alizarin with what's on the brush, I end up getting sort of a lavender color. This helps give more depth. A little bit more in here. Too much maybe. If you get too much, you can always pick up a little more white and lighten it up. Pick up a little more blue, it'll make it, there's another color. So I'm just sort of building some color on top of color in this sky. Phthalo blue over on the right, and a little bit of Prussian blue on the left. This was taken, it was a very bright sunny day. The sun was shining across this mountain, so it was getting shadows from the right side hitting. When this glacier setting in here was bright white in some areas with some shadow colors over it. So we're going to try to do that. I have a little too much canvas up here in the top. If you've heard me talk before about taking a 2-inch rectangle or a square and putting it over an area and try to get something going on in there. If you don't have enough going on, put a cloud or something up there. Put some paint, make a little cloud go across here like this. We'll put in some white. Pick up just a little of the midnight black to give ourselves a little bit of a shadow under it. Midnight black is an interesting color because it basically it kind of turns blue-gray the more white you put in it. So let's just keep putting in some more here. Put in some more white, build it up a little bit more. So I'll have something going on in this big square area here that's not just one color blue sky. Little X strokes. Still use that little technique I learned from Bob Ross. Okay. Let's see here. Looks like we're still streaming very well. I have there's a 30-second delay, 30 to 35-second delay from what you're seeing and what I'm doing. So when I look at my computer over here on my left arm, I see what I did 30 seconds ago. So it makes it interesting for the person making the presentation to keep in line here. A little bit of lavender in there. I'm still needing a little more color, I think, in there. There's some lavender. Okay. So I've loaded on several colors here. I got some blue, got some white, got some ultraviolet, got some more, some black. And I still haven't cleaned this brush. So I started out with this brush and nothing have not cleaned it yet. So let's just sort of finish up this sky and call it quits. You can always come back and put more in the sky if I want, but right now I'm going to stop with that and see if I can leave it that way. Okay, now I will clean this brush out a little bit. Once you clean the brush out, you get some liquid thinner in there, get some you have to dry it out, because if you don't dry that out, I take a paper towel and just really try to clean that brush out. I beat it back and forth, get as much of that thinner out of there as you can, because the next time I go into the paint, whatever thinner is left in that brush will thin the paint down. And if you don't want the paint to be thinned down, don't do that. All right, let's go back. I'm going to pick up a number 12 flat, and I'm going to start looking at the top of these mountains back here, and where they touch the sky, there's a lot of snow right here. So I'm just going to sort of lay in some snow. Pretty much titanium white without too much else in it. There's a whole ridge line of snow back here that just sort of covers this top. Comes all the way down and sort of juts out here to a peak and then sort of falls off. Now in real life, this thing may be smooth and very straight, but you don't want to paint it that way, because you have to give your viewers something to look at other than a straight line. So if you think about that, make the top of this have a lot more changes in it. Don't make it just straight. Because from a distance, that thing looks almost like a straight line from the view of the photograph I had. So I don't want that to be that way. This other one over here is really the same way. There's a big, big glob of snow in here, and it just sort of runs up this way. When you take your brush and go over that other color behind there, you pick up that color. So you got to wipe your brush out, make sure you don't pick up that blue color from the sky and put it back down in there. Pick up some nice, okay, like that. Throw in some more here. We got really, this is all snow in here. There's a lot of snow that comes back in here like this. It's got some shadows in it, but it's still all snow. And I can use that gray of the canvas. When I pull this paint really thin, that gray of the canvas starts showing through. I don't know if you can see it that well on the camera, but it certainly shows through when the paint is thin. If the paint's really thick, I can blot it all out and basically make it all opaque. So I'm just painting a lot of snow here right now. And I'm going to stop and take 2 or 3 steps back and see what it looks like here. Okay, we're getting a nice little ridge line up there that has some movement in it. On this particular line here, I did what I told you not to do. It's almost straight. To the eye, it looks almost perfectly straight. So let's modify it a little bit by putting in some bumps. And we don't want it to be just perfectly smooth coming down there. Make the brush strokes the way the land goes. Okay, we got, let me see over here, we got more things. A lot of snow coming down. I'm going to come back and mix in some dark colors there to make that look like a mountain there. This is getting sort of brown and gray over here as well. Okay. Let me see here how we're doing. We've been going about 30 minutes. See if I'm getting any. If you want to ask me a question, please type it in capital letters, and it will stand out in the chat stream, which I'm looking at, and I can probably answer your question here. I see someone from Russia has joined us. Good evening, she says, from Moscow. Welcome. So apparently she speaks English very well. Okay, so we got this going. Make some bumps, make this have some changes to it. Okay. Now, okay. All right, so all of this is sort of like the glacier that's been left, and it's melting and sliding down, melting into this river, or into this lake, actually. And now I want to come back and pick up my filbert, and we're going to start putting in some of this mountainous area back here. It's sort of a combination of a little black and brown. It's just a kind of a dirty color. It's really granite of some kind, I think. So as we pick up this color, now we'll start just sort of putting in part of this mountain here. So I've just got a little bit of mixture of black and Van Dyke brown, which gives me a muddy gray color. So these are parts of this mountain that are where the too steep for the snow to hang on to, so the snow is sort of falling down, falling off of it. So we have some areas where the snow is actually pulling over. Okay, and we have some areas that are even down in this area here that I come back and put in. Okay, these things always look a little better, I think, on camera than they do up close in real life. And so we'll just sort of lay some of this in. There's a little bit more, start seeing a little bit more brown coming up, or reddish brown showing in the mountains on the left. They're getting a little more sun on them over here. So I've mixed in a little bit of my dark sienna and white, and as I come up here and start putting in some of this mountain here. Okay. A little more white, lighten it up a little bit. And go back and get a few more of these darker colors here. This black and brown start coming back this way. This is more vertical. So leaving that brown color in my brush, that lighter brown, dark sienna, I'm able to sort of get a mixture of colors. When I start pushing down on the brush over here, I pick up some of that other color in there that gives me a little variation in color in the side of the mountain here, which is always nice. Pick up a little bit of that white from the snow and pull it down, and it lightens up the color of the in the brush so that it's a more of a gray color. I'm leaving some room. I'm painting some negatively around where some trees are going to go in here, so you'll see some holes that look like they kind of look goofy, but it's done on purpose. We'll come back and put trees over that. So I just don't want to have a lot of brown paint when I'm trying to put trees over it later on. So I'm using one of my watercolor tricks, which is called negative painting. Just leave out areas that you want to come back and color. Come back and put another object over. Let's see down here, let's put some more in here. Make sure I'm still streaming okay. Have to keep watching if everything goes off. I may not know it. I get so absorbed in my painting here. Okay. All my brush strokes are going down. That's the way the surface of the mountain is, vertical. If the mountain is going sideways, I would be over here, I'll be making brush strokes that go this way. So you want your brush strokes to go in the direction of what you're painting. And as I turn around and look at my console, I see I have my palette overlaid in this area here, and anything I paint in that area you won't be able to see until I move my palette, and I can do that. I just have to remember to do it. So if you see my palette covering my where I'm painting, send me a message type in a message and tell me to move my palette. I tried a trick with some tape last time to see if I could remember where my palette camera was. Maybe I'll try that again, see if this works. Take a little blue tape and just sort of stick it right here, and that'll tell me my camera is in this quadrant. I can move the camera here or over there, any 4 quadrants. I just have to know that it's happening. When I do the other videos that I put on YouTube, the free ones, I always do the painting and then I edit the painting afterwards, and so I can put the camera view anywhere after the fact. When I'm doing it live, can't do that unless I pay attention and use my video switching unit here, which I think I told you about last month, that lets me do live video switching. So all of my technology training and background keeps sticking its ugly head up and making me do things that I know how to do, but they're definitely left brain things. And painting, as you know, is a right brain activity. Okay, I'm going to trying to just match a little bit of these colors. I'm not trying to match them perfectly, but I am trying to get a lot of variation, a lot of change in this color here. There's a lot of spots where this just sort of comes down and kind of stop my paint. It's going to roll right off the bottom of my palette down there in this dark sienna. Okay, step back, take a look. Okay. Okay, I have a question from Maria. Do you recommend negative painting in general? Most oil painting artists tend not to use it, although one that I do follow from Canada, he is also an expert in watercolor as well as oils, so he knows enough about the negative painting, the value of negative painting. The main value is that you don't put a coat of paint here, so there's nothing there but canvas. So where I negatively painted around these trees, I have a chance to put the color on the canvas that I want the first time, and I don't have to worry about putting a green or an olive color paint over brown and worry about what that's going to do when I mix those colors together. If you do oil paintings in multiple sessions where you let the thing completely dry and come back and do another painting or finish it later, then it doesn't make any difference. You can paint right over that. If that were dry, if that brown were dry, I would come back over it and I could put any color I want over it just by the nature of oil paints. But when you paint wet and you try to do one painting in one session, I find it sometimes better to use the negative painting technique and leave myself some pure canvas there, so I don't have to worry so much about mixing it. You can do it. You can do it without negative painting, but just imagine if I had that all painted brown, I come back and try to put a green color over it. As long as the color is darker, it usually works with no problem. But it's a good technique to know, and in watercolors, if you don't know that technique, you cannot paint very good watercolors sometimes, because you have to use negative painting many times, which is kind of why I like doing both oil and watercolor, because the techniques cause my brain to function entirely differently. I have to think about the white of the paper when you're watercolor painting, and so you have to try to leave that white out. And a good way to do that is negative painting around objects. So I hope that answered your question, Maria. Thank you for asking. Okay, we're moving down. A lot of vertical. Pick up a little of this. Get a little color in there. I want to get a little bit of this violet color in here as we start getting into some of the shadows. And I will start this dark sienna, also known as burnt sienna, has traces of orange in it because it's a reddish brown. So when you want to get a good contrasting color, or want to make a shadow, using this violet is a good way to do that. Another question from Ryan: do you have a schedule for live feeds in both oils and watercolors, and is there any for watercolor? Yes. You can see I have 9 oil paintings scheduled for this year. This is the first one of 9. They are all on the 3rd Wednesday of every month, with the exception of July and August. So every month, 3rd Wednesday, put it on your calendar, at 1 p.m. I will be live streaming an oil painting. And then 4 times this year I will be doing watercolor painting, live streaming. And that will be on the 4th Wednesday in March, the 4th Wednesday in June, the 4th Wednesday in September, and the 4th Wednesday in December. So I try to stick it on the same day of the week. It's just the 3rd Wednesday or 4th Wednesday, depending. And so I'm going to do 4 watercolor classes live. I'll be putting other watercolor painting videos up on YouTube, of course. I'm not going to stop doing that. But the live classes will be in March, June, September, and December. And the oil painting are every month except July and August. So if you can put that on your calendar and think about coming back. If you go to my website, where I have the link to my watercolor or to my painting classes, where it says register for live painting classes, when you click on that link, it will take you to the my checkout shopping cart is what it's called. When I'm trying to paint and think at the same time. The shopping cart has every class in there that you can reserve this year, and actually get rights to the final video, to download the video, and be able to get the sketch ahead of time, so you can actually prepare for a class before we actually have class. So it's one advantage I'm trying to do. I mean, live painting, when I do this, YouTube doesn't make it easy to restrict anybody from watching this. I can't really prevent others from watching it, so I'm just letting those that want to watch it. And if you want to participate and help support me and buy some classes, get the rights to download the full videos after class, consider going out there and buying 1 or 2 and see how you like them. So they're typically longer. I don't put a restriction. When I do my standard videos that I upload to YouTube, I try to keep them under 2 hours most of the time. And I don't know, this painting may be under 2 hours too, I don't know, but I try to at least can answer questions for you and give more feedback during the painting process than the other ones, because they're just basically classes that you can watch anytime. You just don't get the feedback. Okay, now I think I'm getting that other layer of mountains in there. I like to stop about every 15 minutes or so and just recheck, look at my composition, look at my lines, look at my abstract shapes. You hear me talk a lot about abstract shapes. That's one of the things I've learned about painting in general, whether it's oils, watercolors, acrylics, that the best painters do this automatically. They don't think about it. If you take their workshops, they probably don't even tell you about it. They just come out with paintings that look nice and you can't figure out why. And usually it's because they have very nice abstract shapes. They don't have clones. I have a clone here. What's a clone? It's something that replicates itself. This little curvature here, that curvature there, that one there, those are tending to be clones. Now, in nature you may find clones, but when you take a scene like this Glacier Lake that's probably 5 miles away and 3 miles wide in this photograph, I'm putting that into 14 inches. So when I shrink all that down, a lot of things become straight and they get the values look different. So you have to do something artistically to change the way these things look. So that's why everybody paints with me. When I gave my classes, the first time they painted with me, I gave them an artistic license. I actually printed it out with their name on it. So they actually have the license to paint what they want. They don't have to paint what they see. So you can make some of this up, and you make a much more pleasing painting if you do that than if you just slavishly copy a photograph that's really not meant to be shrunk down to this size without a lot of detail. Photographs have that disadvantage. They give you a lot of detail, way too much detail for a painter. So that's the idea, that you want to try to vary what you paint from a photograph. Don't just slavishly paint that photograph. I'll go back here and see if I can change this guy a little bit there, make him a little more. So I have to be careful that I don't develop another clone with this little angle and those angles, even though they may be that way. I don't want it to look visually or optically the same. So let's put a few more darks in here. I'm picking up some blacks. I'm going to come back and put some more whites in there as well, because I want that snow to come down this mountain more. I'm going to put some more in this area as well. And I'm trying to see, if you notice while I was talking there, what I did was, see how much darker this little line of mountain is than the one behind it? That was done on purpose so that you can see it. When they're the same value, you can't tell one mountain from the other and they all run together. But if I put just a little line of dark in there, at the top of this mountain, all of a sudden you see the separation, you see the difference. And you know that's not the same mountain, there is one behind it. So that's the trick of using contrast to separate your objects and make them stand out. Okay. See several other folks giving me comments. Appreciate those comments, folks. If you have a question, throw it out there. Just make sure it's capitalized, otherwise I I may miss it. I don't know if you're noticing or not, but if you've looked at any of my other videos, you'll notice how much more time I'm taking on things like these mountains than I would in one of those other paintings that I try to get completed in an hour and a half or so. Because I'm really trying to sculpt these mountains. I want to make them look 3D. And how do you make a two-dimensional photograph look three-dimensional? Okay, you know. If you've taken my class before, you've heard me. You have to get at least 3 values. You have to get a dark value, a mid value, and a light value. If you can get those in a way that give it some roundedness or give it some volume, make it look like there's some volume in there, you start getting three-dimensional look. You don't need 10 values or 20 values. You really just need about 3, maybe 4 sometimes. But if you can get some dark values and medium values and light values, you can always come back and put highlights on, which gives you the third value if you don't have 3 values. And that's how you do it. That's how you make 3 dimensions out of a 2-dimensional scene. All right, now all of this, as it comes down here, I got a few more vertical parts of this mountain I want to come down here. And then I'm going to start moving the brush strokes this way, because as the mountain comes down, then all of this stuff is just this debris that's breaking off the mountain and sliding in, becomes silt down in the water, and you have to make those brush strokes look differently, or again, you fool the viewer into what he's really seeing. If I want these things to pick up a little bit lighter color here, you want these things to start coming down this way. Brush strokes. Now what am I doing here? If you see the photograph, I'm negatively painting around some areas that are going to have some snow in it. So see, there's an area where I definitely don't want to, I would like to keep the canvas clean if I can. I can always come back and put snow over it and make a thin layer of snow out of this thing. I just picked up a bunch of phthalo blue in my brush, which I didn't want. Got it on my palette in the wrong place, so I'm going to wipe that out. These blue colors just take over your other colors very quickly. So let's see, let's come over here. There's a lot of snow that sort of just is running down the side of this mountain here. All just sort of runs into big piles at the bottom. So the nature of the brush stroke is changing what that looks like, and it's on purpose. Okay. So far I haven't used any of my red or yellow colors, or green. A little bit of blue for the sky, but mostly this is made up of grays and browns, a little bit of violet in here. Okay. All right. Putting this violet color in here in some areas to sort of give me a little more definition between some of these rocks. Done a lot of painting with this little filbert. I get a brush sometimes and just really like it and stick with it and almost do a whole painting with one brush sometimes. So many artists use a little brush for everything, and I tend to use a lot fewer brushes. Okay. Make another little distinction here. See how that little bit of dark just separates. It can be darker or lighter, but it has to be a different value. If you don't make that a different value, the person looking at this has no clue what you're putting up there. It just looks like all one gray mass or brown mass. Okay. Okay. Okay, questions from Maria says, do you add the midtones as you go along, or do you usually go back and add them later? Yeah, actually some of these values that are up here can become midtone by just adding a darker, something darker around it or something lighter. And so I don't try to just paint all midtones or whatever. I sort of try to kind of sculpt it as I go to say, okay, and it tends to be, what am I trying to show here? Am I trying to make this look like the indentation of a rock? Well, I need a shadow color. So let's get something a little darker in there, and then you just look at it and say, is that dark enough? Sometimes I don't even refer to my value map after the fact. I just sort of get an idea of what I want it to be dark and what I want to be light. And I could make a much more detailed value map if I wanted to do that. But yeah, the midtones are, they sort of, sometimes they sort of just pop out from putting a highlight color on and putting a dark color or dark value on. What's left is all mid value. A lot of this is mid value. I mean, there's some darks in here, and then some. The snow, of course, is light white. So when you look at the overall value, these are sort of all mid tones here. If you look on the value scale, I don't know if you can see that scale. I have a little strip beside my canvas here. I'll zoom back a little bit and let you see that. It's really hard to see, but it's over here. So I got white here, and then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 10 up to black. So this little value scale here shows you where mid value is. So the color of the canvas, this gray gesso that I put on the canvas, is about a 5 or 6 mid-tone, mid value. So if I'm putting it just a little darker than the canvas, I'm getting a 6 or 7, maybe an 8 in here. So most of these are sort of in the 6 to 7 category, I would say. and then the white snow and sky are down here in the 4 and 3. So they're kind of mid-value, and to really make the accent better, I can come back and make those some of my darks darker, and a lot of painters will do that as well. And I probably will do that probably to get some more definition in some of these shapes. But when when I take enough time to paint like this and take my time, I tend to look at it more and go back and hit more of these areas. So you see right here, I just put a little dark in there that sort of gave that a little bit different look. All right, so the browns, I still got, this starts turning green over here. This is where the grasses, or not grasses, but there's a lot of small, little forest of a lot of trees back in here, millions of them. And they sort of go up this way and they start, this is kind of the, I guess you would call it the tree line if you think about the mountains in Montana and some of the places that these kinds of scenes are. The tree line many times is about 7,000 feet, so you start seeing greenery around 7,000 feet, and anything above that is usually, you usually tell the altitude of a mountain by just where the tree line is, where the greenery is. So anyway, I can add midtones in later if I need them. But I tend to make a lot of it mid-tone to start with, and then use to highlight it for lights and darks to darken it. Okay, let's see here. All right, so one thing I can do while I've got this color in my brush is I'm going to come back and make a little bit more darks in this area here. This is more in shadow. So I'm going to start just hitting it. I'm using this ultraviolet and just sort of walking in some of these colors here to give it a little more dark. Some areas up here the same way. I don't want to just make it all the same color, but I want to give it some good definition of dark in here in some areas. And we start going up the hill here. Mixture of darks. Okay, I think that helped give a little more definition to that point. This is sort of the center of interest here, this glacier and the snow behind it and over it, and the mountain in front of it. And then I'll have another, the lake will probably be another interesting thing, but I tend to want your eye to go up here, so I'm going to try to make your eye follow this path. Go up here and move around. Moving the eye is what you're really trying to do to make a good composition. You want people to get in there and daydream and think about hiking back in these mountains, or make them think about taking a boat out on that lake and catching some fish and that sort of thing. So the more you can do that, the more they can daydream, the more successful your painting is usually. All right, I'm going to stop with that brush for a little bit. I'm going to pick up my fan brush. I have a fan brush that's really a number 3, but it's kind of old and beat up, and it's not very wide, so it works well for some of the snow that I want to put in. I see my white paint's sliding down the palette here as well. I'm picking up some pure white here, just with a little violet in it maybe, and we'll come in and start putting in some snow here. When I did that, I picked up a bunch of brown on my brush, so if I try to turn the brush over and try to go back this way, now I've got too much dirt in my brush. I need to wipe it out. Go back, get some more paint. It uses snow scenes tend to use a lot of white paint, just because you put it in, and even though I've left little gaps here to put it in, I'm still picking up a little of this brown. Okay. And the end of the brush has a lot of brown on it. Clean it off, go back, get some more clean paint. Pick up some more, go back in here. We've got a big glob back there. Oh, look at that blue. I picked up some blue. Well, that was not very smart. Doesn't even like to come off. That blue is really potent. So maybe get my knife here and see if it has stained the canvas. That's what those colors do. All right, make an abstract shape out of this thing here. All right, pretty well wiped that guy out by just putting a lot of opaque white paint right over him. Got my white paint too close to my blue paint here. I'm going to go back and put in some more up here. There's a number of little crevices that sort of have snow coming down. All just fill in like that. How's it looking here from a distance? Okay. A lot of little spots in here that have snow in them. If I can pick up just enough on my brush to. So what I'm able to show you here is a little bit of the angle of the mountain as well, by having these strokes come this way plus some go vertically, which tells you you have little crevices up here in the mountain and they're catching snow. A bit of snow sitting on top of this peak right there. Okay. Even behind it, I kind of left those mountains behind it back there. Didn't do much with them. But there's a lot of little snow that's kind of coming down this way. This fan brush is great for this kind of thing. Sort of pull it down and it gives the impression of a lot of little snow drifts coming down. Not much here. I'll put a little bit there. Okay, some over here, maybe a little more. One thing I have to do is I got to dull this down just a little because some of it's in the shade actually, some of this back here, so I want it to be not quite so pure white. So pick up a little of my violet and just sort of run it over it a little bit, like that. So it takes some of the bright white out of it. Little areas, little pockets of snow getting caught. Okay. This is too straight over here. It's a little more violet. All right. Stop before I make it worse. So I'll be over here. All right, so I think I'll stop on that one for a little bit, come back to the one on the left side over here and sort of see if I can put in a few more things with snow on it coming down this way. We got a lot of areas where snow is kind of getting caught in little pockets. Just lighten it up a little bit. This brush sort of lets you do that. Okay. Okay, so I've sort of tied that together and made it okay, so I have a good dark there in the middle that's drawing your eye. Your eye usually goes from the darkest dark to the lightest light, and that should be right about there. If you look at that, your eye should almost go right there. So everything else has to support that and sort of be subservient to that darkest dark and lightest light. Okay, so I got a bunch of pine trees over here I'm going to work on. I got a bunch of pine trees in the background back here that kind of go up, and I'm going to highlight some of them with some sunlight. This area here is sort of in shadow, but I may put some sunlight on top of it as well. So the colors we're going to use are, I'm going to make some greens, some dark olive green. So I'm going to take my sap green, bring it over here by my yellow ochre. Take those two, maybe a little bit of Indian yellow, see what that does. We're going to pick up just a little blue, pick up a little bit of this Prussian blue. So the Prussian blue will help darken that thing down. So I end up with maybe 3 values. I don't know if you can see that well, but I have a light green, a mid-tone green, and a dark green. And I just made it by using sap green, yellow ochre, and then some Prussian blue. So blue and yellow make green, right? So I use blue and my Prussian blue and my ochre and my sap green to make green. So I have some really nice dark colors here, and I can go back in this background area where the trees are and sort of start putting in some little touches. I'm just taking this brush with a lot of paint on it, if you can see that, and I'm just touching, let the canvas pull off what it will back there. Now that's all about the same color right now, so I want to lighten it up with some yellows. Didn't get enough yellow on that. Pick up some more ochre. And you can always take your greens. If they get too green, you can come back and add some red to it, and you will actually gray them down. So this is going to get over into this area where I've got all these other trees over here. They're so far away that you can't see them very plainly. All you can see is little peaks sticking up. So I'm just letting this bristle brush just sort of make those, right? And giving it some variance in color. I don't want it to be all the same. I want to have some lights. I'm going to pick up some of this red and make this bright red with the green will give me more of an olive color, maybe. Certainly a gray down green from what was there. See if that shows up here, not too much. Let me see, I make sure I don't lose my, okay, all right, now I'm coming down to the bottom of this. I want to make sure I don't destroy some of this area here that I want to have trees in as they come forward. I'll get a little darker even. So I'm just letting the lights carry this back here. I have the base, this is the base of the land back there, and it comes all the way over here. flicking up. I'm just taking whatever paint's in this brush and just sort of pulling up, making thousands and thousands of interesting tree shapes. All right. So far I've stayed away from my painting under my palette area here, which is a good thing. A lot of paint in this brush. I'm just sort of trying to coax it out of there by pushing in on it and pulling up. Some more red in here. We'll sort of gray it down, change the color again. The red will sort of give us a bit of a brown, get some, even pick up a little bit of this dark sienna. A change of color. You see a lot of dead and dying pine trees in some of these forests when you're out in nature. So I want to try to mimic that a little bit if I can. But I'm not making one line of green, I'm not making one line of red. I'm just sort of intermixing it, making a lot of variegation. Variegate your colors. Either warm to cool, cool to warm, light to dark, dark to light, but change them. Don't let any 2 inches go by with the same color in it. If you do, you'll be making a less pleasing painting than you otherwise could. Okay, a lot of stuff going on here. Might even be a few of these back in this area. I'll put some in, maybe even some over here. And I'm still painting around some of these other trees that I'm going to have. Okay. So I'm trying to get this a little darker if I can. I'm not sure I've got it totally dark enough yet, but I don't want to overdo it with brush strokes. But I want to, anytime I want something darker, every time you put a darker color over a light color, or light color over a dark color, you get another layer of paint that makes it look deeper. It makes it look like you have more depth in the painting. So put this out there like that. Okay. All right, so we got water here. This is going to be water's edge. We got water over there. We have a peninsula that sticks out here that I'm going to try to lighten up a little bit better than what's behind it. See if that works. And leave an area for some water back in there. Let me see here. Maybe I'm going to flip in just a little water now to see if I can capture this so that I don't end up with forgetting where I'm going. Back in here, so we're going to have some water. So I'm just going to flick in. I picked up some phthalo blue. On this brush I had the white paint in when I was doing this painting up here. I got some of that phthalo blue in it now that I didn't like a while ago when I had it. So this is just all sort of one color with a few changes of color in it. It's pretty still water. It's not a lot of motion going on in this water. I got a spot back here I want to save. So I'm just sort of painting around the lake's edge here. I'm going to have a little water back in here. I think I'm going to let you see. tell you about these little areas. Why I'm doing these little things like this is because they're so interesting and appealing to people to see. They feel like they can see through a woods and see something back there. It's a nice compositional trick, I guess, if you want to call it a trick. Now I'm just putting in the water without reflection. I'm going to come back and put some reflections in there after a bit, and it will help tell the story of water even more. Right now it's just sort of pretty basic. All right. All right, we've been painting for about an hour and 15 minutes. I think I want to take a little break. I'm going to lay my brushes down, and I'm going to put my, okay, starting at my clock. I have it about 22 minutes after 2, and so I'm going to take a very short, quick break, get myself a glass of water, see if I have any more comments. Okay, folks, I think it's time to start back up here. Hope you've all had a chance to take a break, get a drink of water, and get ready to continue on here. All right, so I've sort of finished in this water area, at least this pass of it. I may want to put a little more dark in there later on. Even pick up some violet, maybe color that's in the sky. Change that color a little bit so it's not all. Told you, don't leave 2 inches of space that's all the same with no change of color, change of value. So I'll tone it down just a little. It's a little bit too blue. All right, now I'll leave that for there for now. And I'm going to start working on these trees over here, but my little blue tape tells me I have my palette in the way. So I'm going to put my palette over here. And I do that by coming over here and changing a control like that. All of a sudden, I should be broadcasting my palette on the right side, and shouldn't be in the way. Now we're going to work on these trees over here. I'm going to use some more of my blues, dark blue, and some of my sap green, some alizarin crimson to get a really dark color. And I'm going to load this brush up, still working with my filbert. And we're going to just start in here, let's see, about right here. And I'm going to just sort of put in a very interesting, hopefully interesting trees. Change the color, add a little red in there. I'll give it a little bit of a lavender color. I want it to be good and dark, however. Okay. The other brush, I'm going to show you another way to make those trees. That's a way to make them with a filbert. Another favorite way of mine to make those is to take the fan brush and same colors, basically sap green, alizarin, phthalo blue, get a really dark color. And this, I guess, I give tribute to Bob Ross, who always starts with his little thing like that, and then he comes in and sort of makes these in almost in a Z pattern, if you will. And just sort of runs down the canvas here, connected over. One of the more recent painters I follow makes his trees more like the one I just did. We're going to kind of put them together in sort of clumps here, and we'll let the edges tell you what's going on here. If it were a snowy day, I would have some white in here and actually make some snow on the branches, but it's not really snowing on this particular day. Go back and get some more darks and put in here, overlay. Another little tree right in here. Let's put I got multiple colors in my brush, so I'm picking up some darks on one side, I'm picking up some ochre on the other side, and just making an interesting set of trees over here on the left side. Another little tree over here like this. It's a little more blue in it. So you may not like to follow what Bob Ross does. A lot of people criticize what he did, but I think he did get a lot of people watching video and painting, trying painting for the first time. He was quite influential in the sort of do-it-yourself, learn-it-yourself scene. Okay, so I'm coming back over here. Okay, so we'll leave those in that area for now. Fill in a little bit more of the green here, just kind of take them off the canvas. Probably more trees that are hanging out here. So I've got a mixture of blues and greens and ochres and olive. So it's quite a mix of trees here. And I'll make sure we put some sort of a trunk in the middle of those. So I'm going to pick up my script liner here, get myself some really a lot of thinner, pick up a combination of black and Van Dyke brown, get myself a little trunk color, and just pop in a few here. I've got some canvas that's kind of back there showing through, so I'm going to just sort of stick in some nice trunks. I don't want them to be very extremely obvious, but I want to put them in. Okay, something like that. We'll have them come down here, and we'll have them meet the road down here that's got some more of this. I don't know if it's a road or what it is, but it's something down here that's sort of like a bank. It's got some grasses and some weeds on it. Okay. Pick up a little more of this brown color here. some ochre. Throw in there, warm it up a little bit. Too much ochre. You can always correct this. We're just sort of putting in a interesting set of colors. I want to get some harmony though, or some balance, harmony I guess, with the mountains on the edge. So I want to pull some of these colors that I've got in the mountains over here so that I don't end up with totally different looking painting that came out of somewhere else. I'll come back and put some more bushes and stuff down here, but right now we'll just leave it like this. Probably paint it underneath my palette over there a little bit, but I'm going to work on this area now on this around this lake. See if I can get just a little more highlights here in this tree. I left it sort of looks almost too perfect, and if it's too perfect, that's usually a problem. I want to make it have just a little more. Maybe the best way when things are kind of mushy like this, hard to tell what they are. Sometimes you can stick another little tree in there that just sort of helps make sense out of some of this. So we got a tree that's kind of back in behind that one tree that would look so perfect. I sort of pushed it back by putting another tree beside it or in front of it or something there, so it's not quite as obvious. That this perfect triangle is what I was trying to get away from. That's not a good abstract shape. You want to have shapes that look more like this, that are more not as straight, not as geometrically straight. Try to stay away from geometric shapes as much as possible. Okay, over here they've got a whole stand of trees. Base, we got some more woods I'm going to put in. We got some base around here. This area we got. Pick that up. Come out here and run it out like that. More that comes out here. Little peninsula type things that lay underneath these trees. Get the right color there, get the right value. Tie some dark together here. Could do that with a palette knife. Many times that you see other artists do that with a palette knife back there, but it's not a straight line. It goes like this, and then it comes up and back and over. Even though the photograph was a nice straight edge across there, I changed it because I don't want to have straight lines. Straight lines, squares, triangles, circles, clones, got to avoid all. All right, let me see here if I can get some trees with a little bit lighter green in them. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but we'll see. I'm going to do this area right in here. I'm picking up some of my these almost have a spring look to them, like new growth. I want to get my filbert out again here. Gives some very nice marks with the filbert brush. So I'm kind of lighting this up. If you can see, the using cad yellow with sap green is giving me a sort of a nice spring spring green almost. Okay, so I'm putting in now these trees here, and if I put some something dark in front of those, you'll see another layer here. So I've got dark, light, dark. That's what gives depth to your painting. Over here, make a few of these trees going to stand out. Okay, so I have another little peninsula there that's kind of sticking out, and you can see the water behind it. That one little place of water here that I left helps the eye see through that. That is very pleasing to people. They like to see that kind of thing. All darks down here at the bottom, get another value. I'm taking some Prussian blues, just sort of laying it in here. Okay, maybe there's a few of these. Put the colors back in here, maybe we'll get a tie it together just a little bit. See some canvas sticking through. If I see canvas, I want to sort of try to cover it up a little bit. Okay, so I have a stand peninsula. You can see in behind it, around it. Let's see now, these are going to kind of come down to here. There's a little bit of a dark, almost another little peninsula-like area here. Like that. And this area here, more dark. I'm just sort of making this up now. I'm not really following the photograph. We pretty well used up the photograph for the most part. And I'm going to just keep using this light and dark method to put in some more trees here. There's another little light, bright tree that sticks up. I'm going to take this cad yellow again and stick it right in here and pull him down right into this area. And we'll darken up some of these, give a little contrast. So I have another little opening here with some water in it that you can see through. So I don't want to abuse that, but certainly a couple of little peninsulas that stick out like that would not be unusual in a scene like this. And we'll take another tree I'm going to stick in there. So I got all this area down here that doesn't have, I'm going to put in some grasses, I think, and maybe a few more little trees. See if we can make it look a little better. And finish off over there, and we'll be just about finished. Another, I don't know. Let's just see what we can do here with some. Not much to go off of here. I'm just sort of winging it right now. More trees. Get my fan brush out and maybe use him a little bit for some of this. Put a few little bright tops in. These don't have to be perfectly defined. They're sort of in an area that you don't want a lot of attention drawn to. Anything down in the corners or on these edges, the more detail you put, the more the eye will go there. So I want the eye to come in. You'll come in here and you'll look in this area. Back around, I want to try to keep the eye in this part of the, this is the sweet spot in here. Okay. All right, let's see. Give me some ochre. I'm going to make some bushes in here that sort of point. Yellow ochre and a little bit of dark sienna. A lot of grasses. This fan brush makes beautiful little grasses by just flicking up like this. So we got a little area we can kind of come down to the water here and see reeds growing and that sort of thing. More over here. Getting under the palette camera, I'll bet you. All right, let's go back here and throw in some more. These are just sort of scrub brushing things that are just sort of hanging out here. Okay, so I now have, I look in this area, I have filled that in to the point where it's not all one bland color that I had there before. Putting a few darks in here to sort of give it a little more, attach some of these things to the ground. You don't want to make them look like they're stuck on, but you want to give them a little bit of value in there to make it look like they're three-dimensional. Mid value, dark value, light value. Okay, stop, look at that. Get back. Okay, that looks like a nice little area you'd like to walk out there and set up a picnic on. So, one more tree here. Let's get see if we can put in a couple of things here. Maybe there's a couple little trees in this area that need to be highlighted. Fan brush, just some little pine trees sticking up, little growth. See if I'm getting under the, that's about it. Okay, let's see if I can come back and go up here like, oops, there's what I want. Put that up there, okay. All right. So I'm just kind of making up what's here. There's really nothing specific. Making this up because there's really nothing here to go off of the photograph. Move my tape up here to let me know my palette cam is up here. Okay, all right, we're just going to finish this out here. Dark, I want these corners to be fairly dark. And throw in a few reds, pick up the reds on top of the green. We'll sort of gray them down. If you notice how that works, put that red over the green. The bright red doesn't show up, but the green looks a lot grayer. Darks under. Okay, so I've got something like this. All right. Now, one of my viewers said they really like the way the trees turned out. Ask if I consider it finished after I stop painting the stream, or other times when I retouch it. Sometimes I retouch it. Sometimes I'll look at it and stand back and say, wow, it's not very well balanced, or I got all this weight on one side. I probably could see just a little bit of that right now, where this looks kind of dark and heavy, but I need a little more something here. So I may come in here in a second or two, another little tree right here to sort of help balance it. I mean, there's a lot of weight over here, but I got this countervailing weight here when I look at that as a mass. So I have to sort of figure out how I want it to look. And so sometimes I might finish up a painting like this and come back and say, oh wow, that's really messed that up. I should have maybe made it a little heavier on this side, or put another object over here. That's why you can't always go by the photograph, because the photograph may not have it in there, but from a composition standpoint, you want to look at the weight, you want to look at the value, look at the overall movement of the eye. When you look at this from a distance, this is one of the important things to understand about composition. When you look at a painting like this, I took off my palette, and where does your eye go? Well, my eye right now goes right there, and that's no good. I covered up that big blue spot over there, if you remember, and so I'm going to try to fix that. I'm going to dull this down just a little bit. I want your eye really to go in here. I want you to look at this glacier and then move around, look at these little interesting areas here where the trees show up around this peninsula, and then loop back around. I want your eye to sort of stay in this area. When it goes over there, that tells me that's too bright, and it is in shadow over there, so I didn't make it enough shadow to keep the eye from going over there. So once I get, I'm going to put one more tree. I got this dark in my brush. I'm going to come back to that, but I'm going to come in here and just put in another little tree of some kind here. Doesn't have to be too big, just a little glob here. Okay, so I'm basically get my fan brush, and this fan brush is so neat for some of this stuff. It's just hard to turn it down. It's hard to do the same kind of things with this filbert that you can do with this little fan brush. I mean, Bob Ross had a great idea by using these fan brushes. We can put in now, I'm going to get some more liquid, very liquefied dark here in my script liner, and put in a few little trunks here and there, and maybe put a few things in over here. I always try to put it in sort of a little tree that might be sticking out of the water or something, or out of the, I'm going to mess it up if I don't watch it myself here. Just a few wild things like that. Okay, that kind of helps add a little more weight down here. All right, let's go fix that snow on the right side, and then see if there's something else we can do before I call this one finished. Okay, here. Yeah, so that, if you look at this, it's really too bright. I'm going to have to gray that down somewhat with, I'm going to get my black, put some white in it, and just give myself a color to help gray that down. picking up white under there, which is making it anytime you put something too bright in the perimeter of these paintings, the eye will tend to go there, and so you'll have to sort of try to manage that a little bit. I'm going to put in a few more of this brown in here to sort of break it up so that it's not quite so bright and obvious over here. All right. I think I took that down a little bit so that it's not quite so bright. Yeah, I moved that down probably 1 or 2 values. So, and a lot of this is in shadow, so it doesn't hurt to, overshadow some of this. Not too much dark in there. So I just sort of put a few darks in there even, and maybe it'll help define some of that. These are some of the things you want to do as you fine-tune it toward the end. You start saying, okay, where does it need something? Where does it need some more definition or more dark? So I'm just sort of few more things here that look like they're holding the snow in maybe a little bit there. But in the process, I'm sort of darkening it down. Okay, get rid of some of these obvious brush strokes. Okay, what else? There might be a place over here on the left side where I can darken down just a little bit, pick up some of this violet color and maybe put in a little bit more definition here on the here. So I'm giving you a highlight right here because I'm putting in a dark and mid-tone color there. Okay, up here I may want to do something similar with a little bit of this color to make it look like there's some shadows up here. All the time I'm trying to make the brush strokes either go down or this way, or if I'm over here. That is very, very important to how the finished painting looks. Blend this together, make a little bit of a, okay, just helps break the top up here. Oh, see what I did? I got nice 2 little clones there that I really don't like. Clones will kill you. So the purple there, purple over here, giving ourselves some harmony. Oops, I'm probably over the, I wasn't showing you my canvas, was I? Or palette. That's what happens when I gotta be video director, lighting director, artist, and okay, I think I'm gonna take a step back and remove my palette for you. Say, how does that look? How does that compare to the original photo here? I will show you the original photo here in a minute if I can get it to show up. Right, there's the original photo. And there's what we did with it. Okay. So, I hope you like this. I hope you like the live classes and getting a few positive comments from I am probably could spend some more time on this. I could spend more time maybe in the working on these mountains a little bit more to get a little more definition in some of these areas if I wanted to. But I think for the size of this painting and everything, I know what I did forget. I did forget something I was going to put in here for you. I was going to put a few reflections. We didn't do that. So we take this bluish green color that we got in these trees, and we come right over here and we start pulling down just a little bit. This helps. This wasn't in a photograph because the photograph didn't really show any reflections. But I'm going to put these in like this very lightly. Maybe even a few of the ochre colors. Could even put in a little bit of the mountain up here too if I wanted, just a little bit like this. What am I doing here? I'm basically filling in this space that was all one color. Now, I'm not finished with that. And I'll show you how we make that look like reflections. Right now it doesn't look like reflections, but our trusty 1-inch blender brush that I have cleaned out, and we take it and we just take one swoop like that, wipe the brush out, come back over here and take one little mark like that, and all of a sudden you have some reflections that help tell a little more of that story that that's water. Don't have to have those. The photo didn't have it, but I like the story that the water is kind of live and moving, and by putting some reflections in there, I mean, I could make a real heavy reflection and make it look like a mirror, but that's not really what I want to do. So, folks, I'm going to zoom back here and say thanks again. I'm glad you tuned in. I hope you like this. I hope you tune into some other live painting classes. Remember, painting classes are every Wednesday, third Wednesday of every month from 1 o'clock to about 4 o'clock I've reserved on Eastern Standard Time. And my watercolor classes will be the fourth Wednesday of March, June, September, and December. So I think I have that all right. You can go to my website and check it out and see if you like those, if you want to participate in one. If you, the thing you get by buying a class basically is helping me pay for some of this, but you're also going to get access to the full finished video when I edit it. Okay, folks, I'm going to sign off for now, and thank you again for watching. And till I see you again, keep painting, keep practicing, and I'll see you again on here.